So thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, it is about football. We will talk, but there will be a short allusion to rugby only for Luisa and Fergal integrated today. I think in Carmen's part, at least once the term rugby will show up. Probably at least. But for now, we will talk about football fraternity between Argentina and Bangladesh football fans. In case you haven't boycotted last year's Football World Cup and all the related news, you may have come across an interesting and surprising phenomenon, which was the revelation that there is a huge number of people in Bangladesh who support immensely the Argentine football team and celebrated and so on. And this story unleashed in social media, where nowadays stories usually unleash and start. So it was started by an ordinary guy, not a celebrity or something like this, Mohamed Subok from Bangladesh. And he participated and documented public viewing support of fans for the Argentine football team taking place at 4 o'clock in the morning, notably. And his tweet was then shared by the FIFA official account and then taken up by a lot of influencers and other celebrities and so on, and made the round to the world. Then a lot of media reported about this fandom in Bangladesh, and it ended up also in the analogous world by the Argentine Minister for Foreign Affairs opening an embassy in Dakar. Yeah, there hasn't been an embassy of Argentina in Dakar before this social media story started. So we, of course, are curious how the story emerged and got on the trail, and we found and will introduce here some traces to post-colonial narrations, to the mediatization and iconization in football, and also to cosmopolitanism. All of this is displayed in a variety of social media, comments, posts, etc. So our corpus, or what we did, is that we set ourselves on social media, investigated also with support of our student assistants, and we found 24 Twitter threads, 6 Instagram posts, and 5 YouTube videos who are highly related to this topic, to this fandom and fraternization between these two countries and fandoms, and assembled a number of 12,907 commentaries. Of course, a huge number. Selectively, we subjected it to a qualitative content analysis. Now, of course, we're interested how this story originated. First thought, could it be that there is a common ground by religion, but this is here not the case. Yeah, Argentina is a mainly Catholic country, while Bangladesh is a mainly Muslim country. Then a second point could be bilateral political and economic relations, but this isn't also the case here, because both countries don't have major trade relations, and as I already said, there hasn't even been an embassy on site in Bangladesh until some months ago. So we looked a little bit more into history, and there seems to be a link. More precise, there is a link in world history, and Carmen is going to explain what this means. Carmen, please.
So what do Bangladesh and Argentina have in common? They have a colonial past, both of them. But despite the different colonial histories, both countries used sports as means of mobilizing discontent against imperial power and as a symbolic space for asserting independence. Sport, including football, was employed by the British in India as a tool to convey notions of physical inferiority and instill desired moral values. Team sports were believed to teach conformity and solidarity, yet Bengali students were often excluded from competing on an equal level. This created tension, of course, fueled racial discord, and sparked nationalist dissent, giving football clubs in Bengal a deeper social significance. A significant moment was in 1911 when this football team called Mohun Bagan, the first Indian team, triumphed over an English team in the Challenge Shield competition, capturing the attention of the newspapers. Here you can see on the right what it was written, showing the resentment Indian players had against the British and how they were being deployed as physical inferior. So the attachment of these meanings to football meant that it became more than just a game. It became a vehicle for expressing social sentiment. And this brings us to Argentina. Let's go to the next slide. So very much like in India, in Argentina, football became also the site for contestation of colonial power. Despite never being ruled under the British, Argentina had also a diplomatic dispute over these islands called Islas Malvinas in Argentina, Falkland Islands in the UK. So interestingly, the football, the sport, was not introduced in Argentina in the same way as it was introduced in India. The sport became a process of creolization, with Argentines embracing the pastime of their British employers associated with the railway industry. Football soon became a politicized arena, exemplified by the highly charged match between Argentina and England on June 22nd, 1986, just 4 years after the war, the Falklands War, and the success of the British in this war. So this match for Argentines carried a sense of vengeance, as Argentina sought to reclaim honor on the football field after this defeat in the war. So sports, originally designed for control and civilization, as we saw before, have undergone significant transformations that challenge the very dominance they were meant to enforce. So examples like black football, black basketball, rugby in France, and football in South America illustrate this change. These sports, initially created and popularized by privileged groups like American universities for basketball, and European aristocrats like for rugby, and the English colonial bourgeoisie, the football, have been adopted and reinterpreted in different social and historical contexts. So beating them, like beating the British at their own game, became then a symbolic way of regaining power. So let's go to the next slide. So this new fraternity, to build this new fraternity among Bengalis and Argentinians, media played a huge role, of course. So let us show you the data that speaks for itself. This is a short video. Oh, there's no sound, or? Do you hear?
No, we don't hear any sound. You should allow the sound.
Yeah, I have to share again. Sorry, I forgot this when we started sharing. Ton freigeben. Sorry.
It is worth it. It's very good.
Okay, you can see my slides again?
Yes.
Okay, now, and please indicate me with the thumb up.
What is it about Argentina, do you think, specifically, that has won hearts and minds in Bangladesh?
I think it's Maradona. I think people loved Maradona. People identified with him, his story, his background.
When World Cup matches started being telecasted live for the first time in Bangladesh, it was, I think, 1986. Maradona took the entire country by storm. I think it was also the fact that, given we are South Asians and we have been ruled by the British, and Maradona was someone who could stand up to the Brits and say that I can beat you at your game.
So this was just television in 1986. You can imagine how far that reach goes with social media. Here we have an example of Instagram or Twitter. It's far-reaching. So Roman, to you.
What is it about?
Sorry.
What is it?
So thank you. Yeah. Now I will address some words to the mediatization of football. Not at least since Carmen mentioned that this World Cup of '86 was the first one displayed in a huge frame in Bangladesh on television. So we come up here with Giulianotti and Robertson, who see football, especially the football's main product, which is the World Cup, is kind of attached to world memories. Yeah, it's a universalism, kind of a universalism. And football is even depicted here as a lingua franca that sets international people talking to each other. And there is a historical relationship with mass media and football, of course. Yeah, that started with the creation of attention in newspapers and then pub discussions and so on, bringing people to the stadiums. Now that was, I'm talking here about the first half of the 20th century. Then the radio took over and captivated everyone, attaching all people to the radio broadcast stations. For example, yeah, the quote "Iran should shoot from the background" is an example for a radio sentence from 1954, and it's highly branded into West German collective memory and finally self-esteem also. Then the television took over, and nowadays television is, as Carmen already alluded to, under massive attack by the internet. And then with social media, there comes a new momentum, yeah, because social media allows the fans to appropriate the sport again. Yeah, they don't consume only what television gives them, but they are able now via second screen and accompanying everything on Twitter and so on to enrich the football story. Yeah, the story football is telling with their own narratives. Yeah, telling their own stories and also in a cosmopolitan way. And this narrative conception of social media is fairly well displayed here in this post. I leave you 15 seconds alone reading it in all its beauty and storyness. So please have a read. Okay, I hope you managed to read it. Argentina is not a team; it's the emotion for Bangladesh. Yeah, it's here the core or final solution of this story. Now, I mentioned already cosmopolitanism, and this brings us back to the ancient Greeks, more precise to the Cynics and Stoics. Heracles suggested that we should consider ourselves as being kind of surrounded by concentric circles, yeah, the self and the family in the inner circle, and then other spheres around, and humanity as a whole in the outer circle. And according to cosmopolitanism, there's an affection, or there should be an affection, especially also to this outer circle. Yeah? We then are kind of considered to be citizens of the world. Yeah. That would be a world without borders, without restraints, and so on. But honestly, from the point of view from those times, it was more in a philosophical sense. Yeah, not really dissolving borders and so on, but opening the mind and yeah, not dissolving physical borders. So finally, according to Greek cosmopolitan thoughts, the place where you are coincidentally born is just that, a coincidence. And indeed, if we look here at some parts of our data, the football fans are Stoic or Cynic cosmopolitans, maybe without ever having heard of Heracles and Diogenes. As we can see in the first one, yeah, the love you gave us as if you were right around the corner. Or the second, there's no political affiliation, no country, no race in the love of football, love for football. And the third one, the Argentine is born where he wants to be born, yeah, which is highly linked to what I presented before. And here, yeah, the person who posted continued with you all are our brothers. So we see there a moment of fraternization, and I would like to speak about fraternization also in a cosmopolitan sense. In order to do so, since the Greeks, we jump several centuries and embrace now the Enlightenment, when cosmopolitan has its comeback. And their fraternity or fraternité was in the lexicon of the French Revolution, and it meant the unity of the oppressed classes, the unity of those who suffered from oppressing forces. I think you see there this clear link to what Carmen presented some minutes ago about a post-colonial unifying narrative. And it's also, this fraternity is also linked to unifying socialist international, so ideas of the international communism and socialism. So solidarity in a cosmopolitan sense can be taken as a quite banal attitude, and then it's more applicable than this philosophical dissolution of all borders and so on. But here it's concretely attached to the concern for other people on the same planet, and then it creates mutual commitment and sometimes not disregarding that there is an expectation of reciprocity within solidarity too. So solidarity is also utilitarian and is also utilitarian and has a political dimension too. This we can see in our last two slides, and our last two examples, slides with examples. On the first layer, we found a huge number of fraternization narrations. Here talking about brothers and brotherhood and unconditional love and so on. And indeed, this is not random quotes, but really there's a massive number of posts which is just about brotherhood and love among the people and so on. But anyway, then the last one here tagged the Argentine president Fernandez at the end of the post, and opens up a political dimension, which I want to show you here in the last slide. So we see the establishment also of reciprocal actions. As can be seen here on the left bottom corner, there's an Argentine fan group paying back the Bangladesh support by now supporting Bangladesh's cricket team. Cricket is a sport which hasn't been has no importance so far in Argentina. But here, there's of course this reciprocity even more when it's an engagement against the constructed enemy, the othered one, which is the English cricket team. So there then reciprocal actions can be displayed. Then there's also an instrumentalization for political messages. Here again, somebody alluding to the Falkland Islands, which actually don't have nothing in common with Bangladesh, but they are here connected to Bangladesh, and this vehicle is used for political messaging. And then there are generally socialist solidarian utterances, like here the first one. This victory is for all humble and suffering peoples. And the last one here on the right side is brothers in combat, always favoring the sovereignty of the people and against imperialism and slavery. So this is kind of a connecting factor, and not to underestimate when trying to explain the fraternization, how the fraternization and this unlikely football tale came up, and we are trying to understand what is going on there on social media and why it is outspoken in this way. So this was our short narration of an unlikely football tale being told in and outside social media, and Carmen and I are very much looking forward to your questions and the ongoing discussion.